Hi, what's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. As of from my last video, lots and lots of things have happened. First of all, Ruto addressed the nation the first time when he came. This is just how I think it it looked from a comedy perspective. I think Ruto just went out. Ruto just saw some tweets about saying that he has a small, you know, so he decided to go there like, let me show you all who the big is. When some tweets were surfacing that you must be you must be really bad to only satisfy your woman with money. So like he just went out there with so much anger, called young people criminals, which I personally, and there's a if you listen to Spice FM, there's this activist. I don't really remember his name, but he was on yesterday. He talked about how the goons infiltrated the 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 protests so that it fits Ruto's narrative, so that when he's presented, because uh, killing protesters is a crime against humanity. So, rightfully or wrong, and I'm not a lawyer here, I'm just speculating. So, rightfully or wrongfully, he's supposed to be arraigned in front of the ICC. So, yeah, the first time he came out, he looked angry, he looked amped up, he looked like he was a guy who's ready to go to war when he called young people criminals, when he called the act of protesting treason, in which the protest was peaceful. At the end of the day, the protest started off as peaceful because, okay, when the protest started, this is just from where I was. When the protest started, I was at Pension Towers. When I was coming this way towards GPO, I got to GPO, and when I looked at my farthest, I was coming this way. So when I looked at my farthest left, I saw tear gas smoke, and I saw had people running around and all that, and so I was like, oh, maandamano imeanza. So like looking that way, I was like, okay, maandamano imeanza. So the police had restricted people using Uhuru Highway because I was coming back to work, and where I work is around Haile Selassie Avenue. So I had to use either Uhuru Highway or pass through GPO, Family Basilica, Parliament Road, get to work. So like I couldn't get to work because Uhuru Highway was blocked off and they weren't allowing people to go through Parliament. So what happened is, as I was just standing there at GPO, I think some protesters came from Nairobi University and I think they came from that side this way, and they were in just a crowd. They were walking around singing and like with like placards, and for no reason I had the police, and this is word for word, I had the police shout out ndio wale, and they threw tear gas at people who had placards and just water bottles. Those ones didn't those ones that's what I saw. They weren't they weren't armed. They were just singing with like their placards and like water in their hands, and for no reason the police just threw tear gas. What should have happened is that, okay, they are not posing any threat to anyone, those people who are singing, so there was no need for the police to throw the tear gas. If by any chance they threw a stone, the police are not supposed to, okay, this is just my opinion, but if I don't do anything wrong, the police are not supposed to fight me. If I do something wrong, the police are supposed to fight back. But then the people who are not doing anything to warrant the police fighting back. So if the same thing happened with them, I will think that it was the same way over at Kenyatta Avenue. The police just saw people singing and like, you know, with their placards, and they were like, okay, ndio wale, threw tear gas, and the protesters didn't do anything to like provoke or warrant the tear gas being thrown. And I had this guy saying, he's an activist though, listen to Spice FM. I heard him say that the police were so busy because at the end of the day, chaos presents opportunity, right? Even if the goons were not really sent by the government, there are people with malicious intent who will see a chance, okay, there's chaos here. It's like magic. Magic, I distract you from the main thing. As I distract you from the main thing, get your attention away, and once I do my trick, you'll be like, ah. And it's just a form of distraction. Let's use the protest as a distraction to go vandalize elsewhere, because the police will just focus on them being together, and they will say, okay, this was not a protest, this was not a peaceful protest, it was a violent protest because there was vandalism. But then if the police were let the people who were singing with their placards and marching, let them march, let them pass. This guy said it. Let me just say his quotes first before I move on. This guy said that the aim of the protesters was to get to parliament, and not get inside parliament, but just sing and dance, you know, and like just, you know, with the placards and everything outside parliament. Let the members of parliament inside parliament know that we are out here, and this is not, we don't want this finance bill, and all the protesters wanted was to get to the doors of parliament, sing their patriotic songs, wave their placards, send a message to those MPs inside parliament that this is not what we want. That is exactly what he said, and that is exactly what I thought would have happened if the police were like, okay, they are coming this way, let's see. If by any chance the protesters got to parliament and tried to force their way inside parliament and shots got fired, I would say, okay, the parliament is a protected area. That's after I have a really good lawyer as a friend, so you better not play with me. I may kill you, and you know he'd talk his way out of anything. I have a really good lawyer, so don't play with me. Don't play with me. Anyway, I'm just joking. I also have a really good doctor friend, so like we can make the evidence disappear. So like yeah, so don't play with me. So like, no, I'm just joking anyway. But this lawyer friend of mine told me that State House, Parliament, and every government office is a protected area. You're not supposed to trespass. But then all the protesters wanted was to march to Parliament, sing and dance outside Parliament, outside the gates of Parliament. Let those MPs know that we are out here. But then what really happened is that when the police started fighting protesters, still at downtown, Moi Avenue, downtown, the goons took advantage because so many businesses, electronic businesses, supermarkets are down, shoe shops, clothing, so much business happens downtown. So the goons were like, okay, since they are fighting, since the police are fighting protesters, this is our opportunity to vandalize, because there are so many condensed in one area, and instead of the police having their intelligence as part of the group, the protest, it was known to so many people that there will have been protests on Tuesday. It's not like we just woke up on Tuesday morning and it was on Twitter like, let's go. It was known for a whole week that on Tuesday there was going to be protests. So the police should have used their intelligence services, the CIDs, to come be part, just in plain clothes, join in with the protesters and make sure the businesses that are on the businesses of other people are good. Instead of fighting protesters, yes, there should have been cops who are ready to, like, if anything, just in case this protest goes south, there are cops who will have had contingency measures. But there should have been cops, the CID, part of the protesters, weeding out the goons. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. There should have been cops who have been arraigned in that, who have been given instructions to take care of people's businesses, just in case anyone tries to vandalize, to take advantage of these protests, use the protests as a distraction to go do malicious activities. There should have been that. But then the police were disorganized. I saw the policeman who was in blue, who fired tear gas directly at a journalist. What is that? Honestly speaking, the journalists are not your problem. And the Nazis, when the Nazis were caught, they used, we were just doing our job, we were just following orders, as an excuse, and I kind of get that excuse. The cops were just doing their job, they were just following orders. But then you need to following that argument, then you need to cut the snake at the head. Cut the head of the snake. And what is the head of the snake? The head of the state. Commander-in-chief of Defense Forces and his advisors, Nordin Haji. It's like he has a fetish for people getting shot. Yeah, people were shot, people were killed. The president, I was talking about his first speech. It's like he came out, wanting, I think it's a male tactic. He came out the first time to give a speech, letting us know. It's like he was telling us, I am the president and I will do whatever I want. That is how it came out for me. That is how I understood it. Then it's like he went backstage and his secretary was like, according to the constitution, you're not supposed to do that. So the second time he came out and he backed down on whatever he said in the first speech. Mind you, during his first speech, people were being massacred in Githurai. Sad. It was I'm one who makes a lot of, if you know me well, you know that I have some very good dark jokes, death jokes, COVID jokes, disease jokes. I have so many amazing dark jokes, but I do not support death. I do not support killing of innocent people, be it a cop or be it civilian. I do not support it. And if you look at it from the cutting the head of the snake perspective, the cops were put into this predicament by the president because they have to protect the president's interests. He's the head of state, he's the commander in chief. He's the only one who can command, he's the head commander of the defense forces, commander in chief of the, So he is the commander in chief of the defense forces, so he's the head, And the cops might just say we were just following orders, but then where are the orders coming from? The orders are coming from the top. So if there's a cop who was killed in the protests, if there was a civilian who was killed in the protests, that's not his fault. That's not their fault. That is the fault of the head. Yeah, I just want oh, by the way, and yeah, after the first press conference, it was like, then he went backstage and was told like, hey, we have a constitution and it's not right to do that. It's not right to employ the military on peaceful protesters. You better get your facts right, then come back with a second press conference, or come back and double down on your words if you do your research. It's like he just went back, did his research, came out a second time, different message, didn't get his facts right, saying 6 people died when last time I checked it was way more than 6 people who died. Talking about extrajudicial killing, yet his deputy elsewhere talked about people being kidnapped. It's like they were reading from the different, like when Drake said in Family Matters, who really bang, I said my nigga YG, and YG is dancing on stage to Not Like Us. You get it? Felt the same with like Ruto and Gachagua. Ruto was like, who really bang, I said my nigga Riggy G, and then Riggy G over in Coast is like saying a totally different thing. People were kidnapped. You promised no more extrajudicial activity. People were kidnapped. Rumor has it, people are still getting kidnapped. And once they get kidnapped, the stories that are coming out, oh my God, they are horrific. Not horrific in like they were beaten up, but intimidation tactics, why saying sticks and stones may break my bones, but something about word of mouth that, yeah, I don't know, but intimidation tactics. But one thing that y'all need to realize, and I said it on my last video, this government needs to realize that this new generation, we are not mushrooms fed on shit. We are not mushrooms hiding in the dark, waiting for the newspaper in the morning to know what is going on. We are not that. We have the internet, we have phone cameras, we have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have Instagram. We have all these platforms where we can get our news whenever, wherever we want. The magazines, the newspapers are digital now. News platforms, digital. Radio platforms, digital. Everything now is digitized. So if I want to know something, I will know it. You kidnapping activists won't do anything. If anything, will just fuel the fire of the protesters. The Gen Z, our generation, it's a generation of the generation before us, the millennials. What do I say about the millennials? Had a certain aspect of fear to their parents. That's what I want to say. The millennials had a certain aspect of fear to their parents, and the generation before the millennials also had a certain fear towards their parents. But then with the Gen Z, we respect our parents, but we can also tell our parents no. Which is, this protest have come from years and years of frustrations, being called weak, being called a lost generation. We are frustrated. People, the generation above us, thought that we are stupid, thought that we don't care. The member of parliament who was saying that the protests are Photoshop, he was proven wrong. And the following day, he went ahead and changed his narrative. So we it comes from years and years of being undermined, the frustration of being told you will never amount to anything, the frustration of going to tell your parents that, okay, mom or dad, I want to be an artist, and your mom or your dad is like, yeah, jai lipa, and you're like, but it makes me happy, and your dad or mom is like, doesn't have to make you happy. It matters if it brings food on the table. But then you fight for whatever you want, you get it, and I made it. How many TikTokers were on the streets protesting who are making money from TikTok, from YouTube, were told that you will never make it on that platform by people who are close to them. So many of them. Innovators, smart people, new ideas, accepting people how they are. And that is Gen Z. I'm a Luya, but I don't mind any other tribe. I love all tribes. I'm a Kenyan first. I came to learn Luya like way further down my life. It's not like I'm so old, but I don't even know like 100% Luya. And so is every other person from this generation. We are the future. I remember there was a time millennials were being told the same thing, but it's our turn now. But the Gen Z are the future. The Gen Z are a revolution. So the second time he came out to give his speech, it looked intelligent, though he looked, maybe it's just me, I read his body language and everything. He didn't look happy, but then it's your bill that is getting rejected, so why would he be happy? But he looked sad. He looked like he was doing it, but he didn't really want to do it. Didn't issue an apology for anyone who had died. Rumor has it that his speech was AI generated. Answered the press not 100%, but there were some lies in his statement. So all we want is accountability from the parliament. We want not the parliament, from the government. We want you all to be accountable. Let us in your decision making, and let's move forward together. Don't rush into things without consulting your people. So yeah, that's my video. This Make sure you like the video, subscribe, and I will see you all on the next one.